This conference will now be recorded.
One second. So my name is Ram. So I will be giving you a high-level intro about Salesforce today. And so before we start, so I just want to share my experience. So I am into Salesforce from past close to 13 years, and I have an extensive experience in Salesforce itself. I started my career in 2010. Right from day one, I'm working on Salesforce. Worked with more than 70 uh, end-to-end assignments, and at the same time work with different systems as well, which has integrated from Salesforce to outside. Coming to trainings, yep, close to 2000 people I've trained already in Salesforce, and I do train people mostly in admin, development, integrations, and even lightning as well. Do let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. We are able to see view your screen.
Yeah,
Morning, sir.
okay, perfect. So today we are going to discuss about industrial evolution. I think most of you are aware of it already. And then we'll take an example of legacy technology, and which means an older technology, pros and cons. And then we'll see how do we compare with cloud computing, and in cloud what is Salesforce, and compare the Salesforce with the legacy technologies, and of course the advantages, job opportunities, finally course content. Yeah, is anyone expecting anything else apart from this agenda?
Sir,
Yeah.
just a moment, sir. My name is Ravi.
Okay.
I am into .NET from the past 10 years.
Okay.
As the current market and seems to be, it will be quite useful when we learn the Salesforce. Then how come it is going to help me? I just want to know. I mean, maybe not at the moment, in the end of the sessions.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks, sir.
So once I discuss about the course content, what kind of things that we need, then you will get the answer. Yeah, it will be covered as a part.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone else? Okay. So first thing is industrial evolution. So just wanted to share this image. Nothing much about this image. As everyone is aware, we are into fourth industrial evolution. So most of the people think that okay, here today everything is with computers. Not actually. It is with artificial intelligence. Where in third industrial revolution, like we used to talk to computers, like as someone said, you have to write some logics at the back end and give the right command to the computer so that the system will understand you. But these days devices start speaking with you, right? The best example is your Alexa or your Siri, your Google, right? And you do have robotics, right? And why this is important, because most of the organizations are going with artificial intelligence, and even Salesforce is doing a lot of R&D in it. Okay. And the moment you speak about intelligence, the more or the important thing that you'll have is the security, right? If the device can hear everyone, it can respond to, if it is responding to everyone, definitely it will give you the wrong information also, right? So how we are securing it, that is also more important. Now, coming to this legacy technologies. So consider, uh, okay, first of all, what is an application or why do we need an application? Anyone?
perform any task to accomplish any activity.
Anyone? Why do we need a software application?
Sir, it is to make the things easier so that the people who are willing to do it manually, instead they can sit at the home and they can do whatever they are willing to do.
This is one side of definition where, as a customer, right? As a customer, if you ask me why do you need an application, I will say yes. Instead of going uh, to the market physically, standing in a queue, do the transactions manually, I can sit at my home and do the same transaction, right? That's where you'll have the feasibility or advantage of using any application. For the best example is your banking, right? So when we are kids, like when your parents wants to do a transaction, they have to go to a bank, right? Unless until your parents stands in a queue and get the money out of their accounts and all, they were not able to do anything, right? But these days it's pretty simple. You just wake up, do a transfer, get the transfer from anyone, and see the notification in mobile. Even I don't think people are even checking their account balance and their passbooks and all, right? Now, what is the other side? Let's say if you ask the same person who built this application, for example, a software developer or an organization who built the application for them, it is a revenue generator, right? A tool which generates a revenue for them, right? Why? Because the moment you open, the number of times that you are opening that particular application, that much amount of revenue that will be generated for that organization, right? Now, so let's say if this is the application built on any of your legacy platforms, which means older technologies, maybe your .NET as well, which includes. So what you have to do, it's not like you will, the moment you have seen a business problem, to resolve that, you will have an idea and you will start building, right? You have to do a lot of things in between, right? The moment when you speak about on-premise application or this legacy platforms, you have to set up an environment so that you can start building that application, right? First thing is you have to enable the server first, right? You have to get the server. So when I speak about server, it will have its own capacity, the number of users that can log in, etc., etc., right? And if you take the same .NET application, it's not like I can simply write it on a Word document and run the logic, right? So I need to use some tool. I have to install some software in my system so that I can start writing the logic and then push it to the server. Once the application is built, then I will push it to the server. Or at the same time, I have to define how many users are there, what kind of accesses that you have to define, what kind of report that the .NET can generate, and what kind of security it is giving me. All these things has to be considered by me because I am owning this application, right? So now when I'm building an application, let's say it's a new app in the market, so I thought maybe 100 users are using that application. It could be anything. It could be any application like your banking sectors, or it could be any applications like your what do you say, your Redbus, anything, or even your Make My Trip, right? So when you're building any of these applications, initial thought is like you will definitely have some expectation. You will think that, let's say, you think that okay, by building this application, I might generate around 100 customers in the market. So when you speak about this many customers, you will generate, I mean, you will buy a license, or sorry, a server which will handle this many customers, right? So when I speak about server, again you will have a user capacity especially, right? And if the number of users gets increased day by day, I, and sorry, and if, let's say, if the user capacity of the server is not matching with it, so there are high chances that your server will crash, or there are high chances that your application also might crash, right? Why? Because those many number of users are trying to hit the system. But to avoid that issue, what we'll do, we have to increase the size of the server, like either by replacing with a server with higher capacity, or maybe create another server and do some serialized connections and all. So that is also fine initially, but let's say after some time, let's say there is a competitor in the market who is giving a similar application but with a better performance, better offers than the one that you have. Then what will happen? People will start their application, like the user base of that application will increase, and of course yours will be reduced day by day. So will there be any issue? Actually, no, at the performance level. But as you have invested a lot, you are not getting the ROI, right? Return of investment. And at the same time, you still have to maintain all this, right? Like server maintenance and all. It's not that easy. It's not like it's not a suitcase where you can get just keep it anywhere. So it needs a separate room, and you have to cool it or freeze it properly by setting up all ACs and all, right? Because generally servers gets heated at the earliest, right? So to avoid these things, this like all huge investments will go with cloud computing. In cloud, what will happen? More or less the same concept. Like you will have a server, you will store the information in your server, but that server will be maintained by a different person. It's not that you are going to manage this. So that's the main difference between your cloud computing and on-premise application. So in on-premise application, the resource owner will be taking care of everything, right? The person who builds the application has to take care of all of this. But when it comes to cloud, so you will have a service provider. What the service provider will do, they will say that, hey, if you want to build an application, come to us, buy a space in our server, start building it. Okay. Now, Ram, what is the advantage here? Maintenance, right? So for example, here, the moment you pay for him, so he will take care of your storage spaces, your networking, your user capacities. Because user capacity, I can, whenever I need more number of users, I can simply ask them to, hey, I need this year, I need maybe 100 more users. Next year I might need just reduce the number to 50. So I can save a lot of money, right? That is one of the biggest advantage. But Ram, they also use servers only, right? What is the difference? Yeah, because the servers that are used by this service providers are dynamic in nature. So what they'll do is they won't simply share the application directly to the user like the way you do in your legacy platforms. Here, these servers, what they'll do is they will generate an instance in the cloud or an image in the cloud, and that image will be shared to the end user. Now, what's the difference, Ram? Because if there is any too many hits to that particular application, what happens is that instance or the image will be crashed, but actually there is nothing impacted on your actual server and even your application also. And at the same time, even if there is a huge change or huge change in the users in who are using their application, Salesforce will, sorry, this cloud computing service providers, they will automatically increase the number of instances, and they base according to the user base that you are trying to hit. Now there is no much difference, right? right, for the end user, because it's not, none of the software applications are touch and feel, it's a look and feel. So whether I see my photo on a hard copy of my photo on my laptop or on my TV, I'll get the same feeling, right? So same concept here also. Now, this cloud computing has again three different types of services. One is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. What is the difference? When I speak about infrastructure as a service, it is like half baked, where half of the services are taken care by service provider and the other half is has to be taken care by your uh, resource owner. Any example, Ram? Your Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Service is always costly. Why? Because even after buying the license from AWS, I have to define my own OS or operating system or a software to build my application. And if I want to communicate with any external user, I have to use my own middleware, or I have to make handle all my runtime issues, and data also has to be maintained by me, even the application also. But when it comes to your platform as a service, here it says, hey, I'll give you a platform as well. You just come and start building your application. That's it. This is what your platform as a service is. And this is one of the basic licenses of Salesforce. We call it as force.com platform license. Okay. So the platform that we use in Salesforce is force.com. So Salesforce has given a license for that also, where you will have everything. You build your own application and you manage your data. But now you say, no, no, Ram, my application is pretty generic. Okay, let's say I will run through a sales application in the market. So I just want something. Then we can go with software as a service. This is where everything is managed by the service provider. Software as a service, the best example is your Facebook or Google, right? Why? Because Facebook has defined a software and provided to you as a service through internet, right? You don't have to do anything if you want to use Facebook. Open your browser, log into Facebook, start connecting with your friends, right? Same thing even in Salesforce also. The moment you buy a license, Salesforce by default gives you certain number of applications, some 6 or 7 standard applications that you can use it by default. Okay, and these are defined at the market standards. What are they? Sales, service, marketing, campaignings, e-commerce, all this. Okay. Now, as but they are defined at the, as I mentioned, they are defined at the market standards. What do you mean by that? So when you speak about sales process, what you'll have, you will generate, you will do some marketing, you will get some leads, or you will get some, what do you call, inquiries, and then you will assign a sales agent. You will ask your sales agent to handle them, for so that finally they'll become your customer, they'll buy the products, and then from there your service starts, right? The same process is defined in Salesforce. Now, if you say, Ram, actually, companies like maybe Mercedes or Lamborghini, they don't do any advertisements and all, right? They won't do marketing. They don't need it, right? So, can they use? Yes. So, apart from giving these applications, what Salesforce says is, hey, if your application falls under market standards, you use these applications by default. Now if you say, no, no, this is not something that I'm looking for, I want to process my data, I have defined a different set of process, then Salesforce says that, okay, you define your own one, that is fine. Now someone says, actually I can define my own process, but the thing is, here in the whatever is given by Salesforce is pretty cool, we are interested with it, but this is not actually matching with my 100% requirement. Then what, till whenever it matches, Salesforce asks you to use it, and the other one you can customize, which means when Salesforce gives you some standard set of applications, either you can use the same application, or you can customize that application to certain extent, which whatever you want. And finally, you can even build your own application also. That is the best example of Salesforce. Clear? Any questions? Anyone? Hello? Am I audible?
No, sir. No, sir.
Now, yep, these are the couple of examples that I've written. Just going with it. What is this customer 360? So I will call it as bird eye view, where with one view I can cover everything which is related to my customer. Right. So, for example, so it can be used for sales. Like, let's say I have an organization. Let's say I work on some clothing industry, maybe a brand, let's say you take anything like, let's say, Pet Ringland or maybe Pepe Jeans or whatever. So they want to capture their entire sales process. Yes, you can, Salesforce covers it. And they want to provide services to some organizations, they'll cover it. Now they want to do the marketing outside the market, they can do that. And before doing all this, they'll get some raw materials, right? It's not like the moment you open the store you will have everything, right? They have to stitch that clothes, they need that threads, they need to do someone, they need someone to sew that clothes and all, right? For this they need a lot of raw materials. So how they'll do it? So that thing also can be properly managed within Salesforce. And like Amazon, even in Salesforce also you can build an e-commerce website where you can sell your products. You can build your own customized application. And Salesforce has a power of analyzing the data as well, which is nothing but your reportings. And the best part is integrations. Like any other technologies, sorry, like any other technologies, Salesforce also supports integration, but the best part of Salesforce is it has one of the powerful tools in the market that is called as MuleSoft, which was acquired by Salesforce around 2 3 years back. And this by default supports all your integration needs as well, right? And it supports the employee experience by giving your documents, inline edit documents to everyone, and you can learn the things with multiple industries as well. So when you speak about industries, Salesforce acquired a new one, another technology called Velocity, where it says that industrial cloud, where it is defined for a specific industries. You can look for oil and gas, you can look for utilities, you can look for pharma, you can look for e-banking, all this, right? And when you speak about the customers who are using it, so each and every big organization that you see in the market are one or the other way they are using Salesforce, and they are most of them are biggest customers of Salesforce. For example, your City Group, I'm not speaking of just about Citibank, I'm speaking about the entire City Group. Like people in US will understand more easily because City Group is one of the biggest financial broking sector in the market in US, right? So they are one of the biggest customers of Salesforce. Why? Because 70% of City Group's transactions is based on Salesforce itself, right? And then it is being used, widely used in organizations like your education industries, like your Stanford University, Harvard University. And it's being used widely even in pharma industries also. And at the same time, your oil and gas, like British Petroleum, is one of the biggest customers of Salesforce. Now, Ram, is this Salesforce is a tool which is built only for processing the customers? Because all these, one or the other way, deals with their customers. Actually, no. And at the same time, say, I'm not saying that Salesforce is the only tool for every problem. So if you have data and you want to define a process to mature your data, then Salesforce is the right tool. Okay, it's being used widely used for project management tools as well as and it's being used even in smaller organizations also. Let's say for example, Redbus is using Salesforce. Your uh, 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 Even your Paytm in India is using Salesforce. Yeah. So it has wide variety range of licenses based on your requirement. You will start, you can pick your own license and then start building your application. The license starts from $2.27 and it ends at somewhere around $10,000 also. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Okay. Now, how does this, when I buy mean space in the server, how does this shared with me? So Salesforce follows multi-tenant architecture, which means it's a kind of apartment culture where you buy your own flat and you stay in your own flat, and the power supplies or it could be building maintenance, all these things won't be a big burden for you because you will pay a small amount, right? The resources are shared over here, right? That is the advantage when you're using Salesforce. But at the same time, when I'm speaking about any apartment culture, you'll have some limitations also, right? You have to park your car in your own parking area, or you have to be in your own limits. You should not make much noise, or you should not go to your neighbor's house and sleep and all, right? Similarly, Salesforce also has limitations, and we call them as governor limits. Okay, I'll discuss more about the governor limits. For every concept that we are discussing, you will have a governor limit, and in future when we are discussing about the any of the feature, each and every feature will have its own limit. I will share you, and of course those limits are very high, so you will generally won't meet them. Then earlier, like few minutes back, when we are speaking about building an application through any of your legacy platforms, we have seen a lot of setup in between, right, before you start building the application. But here, the moment you get an idea, you buy a license, that's it, start building. And the beauty of Salesforce is, you can, the moment you build an application, you don't have to say, hey, I need this application to be enabled on your mobile, or your laptop, or your tabs and on, because this is one of the biggest issues that most of the other technologies face, right? Like after building the application, you'll think about, how do I build the same in your mobile and all. But here by default, whatever the applications that you are building, right, Salesforce by default supports that. That's one of the biggest advantage of your Salesforce. So we do have an application called Salesforce One in the app in your marketplace, which is your app store or play store, where you can install and log into that and you can start using it as well. Yeah, of course the mobile view and laptop view will not be the same, so there will be some changes, but still fine, so you don't have to define anything for it. Yeah. And this gives you a tremendous change in the amount of time that we are building the application. Now why this slide is important, because here these days no organization is competing with each other, right? Because everyone is building their own uh, everyone is fighting with the time, right? The more faster you deliver, the more easier way that you can generate the revenue for your organization. And Salesforce follows the same way. So as the entire infrastructure is built up by Salesforce, and as you are just using the license, there are days where you can build the application in a couple of weeks also. I won't say days is too much, but weeks you can go with. Yeah. And he is the CEO of the Salesforce. And so he says trust is very important. So yep, this which I didn't discuss, something which is very important is when you speak about Cloud, something which is very important is trust, right? Because if there is no security on the data, then there is no point even if you build your application, right? So that is where Salesforce says that even if you have your own credential, even if I have your credentials, it won't allow me to log into your system. This you'll say, okay, Ram, this is there even in Facebook and LinkedIn also, right? Like even if I'm trying to log into my account from a different system, it will ask me for a verification code. But do you know what? This was implemented by Salesforce around 2007 or 8, right? And even if you log in also, if you want to extract the data, it's not that easy. You have to, unless until you have to connect with the tool, you cannot extract the data also, right? And there are a lot of other security concepts and which are pretty much easier to define for any of the system admins. So those things we'll discuss in future. Okay. And who is not using smartphones? I won't say who is using smartphones, because these days everyone is using your smartphones, right? So, and either it could be Android or it could be an Apple as well, right? So you know what? So first, when you speak about Android, you'll have a Play Store, which actually came after your App Store, which is launched by Steve Jobs from Apple, right? What does this App Store or Play Store means? You can install some application, whether it could be free or it's a paid one, and start using it for your daily uses. A best example is your WhatsApp, right? Now, the same thing, even we can do it in Salesforce. And by the way, App Store is a domain which actually was registered, and the idea of this fellow, as he is the friend of Steve Jobs, he has gifted this domain to Steve Jobs. You can pause the session, you can just go back and see the entire thing. And he came up with a concept called App Exchange, right? Instead of App Store, he came up with a word called App Exchange. Why App Exchange? Because see, it's not like you will earn only when you get a job in Salesforce. If you see a business problem in the market, and if you want to define, if you feel like, okay, if I define an application and I can sell this up, then you define this and push it in the App Exchange. It is like your App Store, so that if anyone else is interested, they can start using it, and you can, it will generate a revenue for you. Now, in App Store or Play Store, you can push any application, right? But here in Salesforce, it's not like you. The moment you build an application, it will allow you to push it in the App Exchange. So you will have a separate App Exchange team who will actually look into your application in all three modes of security, and then they will approve it. Once they approve, you will be able to you will be able to push this into App Exchange, and people will start using it so that it will generate the revenue as well. Clear? Any questions so far? Anyone? This is not required. This is also not required. It just shows you this growth of Salesforce. We can look at it in a simple way. So Salesforce is growing day by day. See, there is no spike as of now, right? There is no going down, right? Why? Because Salesforce is not just going vertically; they are growing horizontally as well, and that is the biggest advantage. Now, when you say, someone said, right, like let's say, Ram, I'm learning .NET, sorry, I'm working in .NET from almost a decade now. I want to switch. Why we are looking for a switch? Why? Because there are multiple reasons. One is, yeah, the technology might get saturated, or there is a huge competition in that technology, or there are no openings because people are not using that much. and of course you could have multiple other reasons also. Now, if you see this, Salesforce is saying that by 24 we are going to become a $35 billion company, which means they are growing to an extent where everyone will have an opportunity to generate. For example, if you see this, this is one of the oldest slide. So by 22, Salesforce proposed this in, if you see the number, somewhere around 2016 they have proposed this. So they said like they want going to become 3 point, and then they are going to generate 3.3 million jobs across the world, and they did that, right? So why? Because these days 9 out of 10 companies are definitely using Salesforce by looking at the advantages that they have, because there is no maintenance and there is no software to install to develop your application, right? Now if I don't have to install any software, then I don't have to prefer a highly configured laptop for my employees. So that is also a saving for me, right? A cost saving for me, right? All by using all this, most of the organizations has clearly stated that they have seen a 40% growth in profits after starting using Salesforce. That is where the growth point of Salesforce is coming into picture. And if Salesforce or if your technology is growing like this, definitely you will have wider opportunities. Okay. And I'm not just saying about Salesforce, any cloud computing technology, if it is having a good boom in the market, yeah, definitely there will be a life at least for one more decade from today. Yeah. So this is how the growth of Salesforce is. And then these are the different certifications that you have in Salesforce. You have around 27 certifications, which speaks about admin, developer, development, and consultants. You can speak, and you will have architect certifications as well. Okay, then when you speak about the differences, what is the difference between admin and developer? So admin is not the person who just looks into the security in Salesforce. He is the person who can build the application in Salesforce. He is the person who, of course, who can control the user. He is the person who can build the applications. You can automate the business as well. Anything that you can do using point and clicks or using configurations can be done by an admin in Salesforce. Now, then Ram, in that case, if admin is the one who can build the application itself, why do we need development? So, as it is using configs, so it's not like every problem or every requirement can have a solution in admin area. For example, if the user is looking for a customized view, that cannot be done in admin. This is where you will go with development, which means the solutions that you cannot provide in admin can be provided in development, right? And now this also means that to learn the admin, you must be sorry to learn development, you must be aware of the pros and cons of admin, which means a developer will or can work as an admin as well. This also means that a developer will always have high priority when you compare with your admins. But of course, there are organizations who will hire only admins because they don't need that much of customization. So it depends on the it varies from organization to organization. And now, if you say, Ram, so I'm very much good in sales or service, and I don't have much knowledge on the technical aspects. That is fine, because admin, to learn admin, you don't have to do anything. I mean, you don't have to learn any technology apart from Salesforce, and you can become a consultant as well, sales consultant or service consultant as well in the market, right? But admin is the base for it. Then, now if you say, okay, I know the coding, but I'm not specific to a particular technology. So what are the things or what are the prerequisites that are there for Salesforce development? So you should know about Java, and you must have an idea about, I mean, Java or .NET, any object oriented programming, that to basics. Rest all will be taken care in the sessions. And at the same time, it will be great if you have idea on HTMLs, JavaScripts, all these areas. Clear? Any questions so far? Okay.
Yes. Uh, Apex Exchange as well as Apex is same or it's in different
App
concepts?
Exchange is a marketplace where you can just go and download the applications. Apex
Like it's
is
okay.
a development language that we use in Salesforce.
Okay. App Exchange means Salesforce application tool. We can download the what type of our requirement based upon requirement we can use it, right? Services.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Now, coming to the course content, as I told you, like to learn the development, we need to learn admin. So I will be discussing about admin first, where instead of just looking at the concepts, what are we going to do is first we'll create an environment in Salesforce, which is for free. And once you get the environment, we'll start building. We'll start looking into each and every concept feature of Salesforce there first, like a high level as an end user. Post that, instead of discussing about the concepts, what I'll do is will discuss about an application that is available in the market. Okay. And we'll try to build the same thing in Salesforce, so that by end of the day, or by end of all your sessions, you will have a full-fledged application in your system itself. And of course, if you are practicing. Yeah. And the documentations and all will be provided, like as and when we are covering the concepts. Okay. Post that, we'll go with the development. Like, I will show you a use case on the same application where it cannot be built by admin. So that is where we'll go with the development. So instead of just covering the concepts, we will try to apply the same, I mean, we are going to apply the same concepts within your tool itself on the application that we are going to discuss. Okay, this is how we will go with it. Okay, the detailed course content will be shared by the career IT people, so that you can do a follow up on it. Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, go on. Sorry.
yeah. What is the duration of like as admin as well as development? And in development perspective, so what type of concepts will concept like as covered it like as web services integration and lightning and LWC? Is this concepts as well as covered?
Yes, it will be, and I mean everything in this course will be covered only about Lightning. Why? Because Classic was I mean Classic was used in 2014. Post 2014, Salesforce came up with Lightning. So each and every concept that is related to Lightning will be covered in this course. Yeah, and the duration will be around 40 on an average. I'm just telling, like it might go up or it might go low. So 40 sessions will be there to cover all these concepts. Yeah, it covers, of course, integration, development, and on the UI of Salesforce, and even in your Apex, all these areas.
So admin plus development total 45 classes. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
40, 40.
Sir, what will be the timing, sir?
Timings, I think it will be the same timings. I mean, 7 to 8 IST every day morning.
7 to 8 in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
41 hour sessions, no, sir? Daily 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour daily. So I'm not restricting to a number. Like as I said, like it might go up or it might go down also.
Yeah, yeah, just for understanding, sir.
I'm
Just
just giving you an average number. Yep, that's all I have. If you have any questions, yeah, we can continue. If not, we can drop off.
Ram, actually, currently I'm working with as a SQL DB admin. So, for example, if I learn to only Salesforce admin, can I get a opportunity from outside or?
Yes, you can. As I said, right, there are openings for admin as well, but comparatively, development will have more. That's what I was saying.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, just to know on a lighter note, I mean, just to know in a better manner, apart from coding, what are the things will be in what? I mean, since I'm a developer, I mean to say, I just want to upgrade myself, so I'm willing to learn Salesforce. Apart from
Okay.
coding, what are the things will be involved in this? I mean to say, when you try to teach us in that process, apart from coding.
So, apart from coding, you will know how to define an application, like the architecture areas in an application that are involved in it, right? And of course, we will be covering all the list of automation rules, like how do we think about it. So, as you have two again here, like admin and development, uh, so anything that can be done by your admin can also be done by your development. But the moment you speak about development, involves a lot of efforts, right? So it involves a lot of cost also. The moment your efforts are increased, your cost will also increase. So that is where Salesforce says always go with low code or no code. So by looking at the requirement as a developer, so you'll see that okay, I will write this trigger, or I'll write a class to close it. But instead, by end of the session, you will be in a position that once the moment a record is, I mean, a requirement came into picture, you will be in a position to decide which feature of Salesforce is a right fit for this requirement. Yeah, it's not just about providing a random solution. We'll see, you will be in a position where you can provide a right solution as well. And for
So,
that, business analyst positions as well, which is having a high demand in the market these days, because people are looking mainly for Salesforce business analyst, where he will be an admin who knows the business process, and he knows a theoretical part of your development. That's the best part, where you, if you are able to understand the development sessions, and if you say that no, no, Ram, I don't know, yes, someone said, right, I don't know how to code, uh, but I can understand the business process. Yes, that is where you can even learn the development, just to see what all the different processes that you have, and see how, which process is fit for a right solution. Because these days, as a BA, generally what happens is BAs is the people who will be having acting as a bridge between the developer and the product owners or the business, right? When the business gives you a requirement, BA says that okay, let me go to my developer or an admin, come back with the result. So once or twice are fine, but if the BA, as the BAs are telling the same thing these days, business people are saying that okay, if you are the person who is just going to your developers and coming back with the answers, we can also do the same thing. What is the point of having you in the in our team? That is where BAs are learning Salesforce, and eventually there is an opening for. I mean, there are openings for business analysts in the market who knows Salesforce end to end. They are the people who can provide the solutions, and finally they are becoming either the business people, or you have a good advantage to become a solution architect, where they can provide the solutions, right? But actual coding and all will be done by the developers. Yeah.
Hey Ram, this is Pradeep here. So as you have mentioned, there will be 40 sessions. So how many of them would be covering the admin part, and how many would be covering the development?
20 admin, 20 development.
Oh, is it? Thank you.
Up to lightning concepts will cover, right? Not in LWC, right, Ram?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
LWC is a separate track. If you are interested, yep, you can talk to the consultancy.
Velocity, that is different concept as well, right?
Velocity is completely different, right? It won't even come into picture.
Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, just I'm asking some people are said that is new technology in Salesforce. That purpose only. Advanced concept like.
Yeah. So velocity cannot be learned on the free editions. You need to purchase the edition.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll be covering Lightning Aura in this completely. And if you need LWC, yeah, I will cover that as well. But that won't be able to do it just within this 40 sessions. So if you need that, you can talk to the consultancy so that we can have a separate track after the development.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, okay, apart from, I mean, to say, apart from the morning classes, do you have any evening classes? I mean, to say, one more, something like that?
As far as I know, there are no evening batches, but
Oh,
yep, just inform the just check with the consultancy.
yeah, yeah, okay, sure.
Okay, that's all for my end today. So let's meet on Monday. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thank you for time.